Muhammad said and what he did. So it's just what you call it, it's the record of Muhammad.
Okay.
His life, his activity, his word, his action, his teaching, and the Muslim call it hadith.
So one, the Quran, is supposed to be the words of God.
Yes.
The other are the words of Muhammad.
Hadith, it's the word of the Prophet Muhammad.
And are they considered to be equal or what?
Muslim, they are required to believe in the both books.
Okay.
Muslim, it's not enough to just believe in the Quran and decline or deny the hadith. According to the Islamic law, if any Muslim going to deny any of the basic teaching of Islam, he will be converted. He will be out of Islam. And hadith, it's one of the most basics you see in Islamic faith.
Okay. Now, another difference between the Quran and the Bible is that the Bible was written by individuals like Moses or Paul in the New Testament, where they sat down, they wrote letters, or they wrote histories or whatever. But Muhammad never did really just sit down and write the Quran or write the Hadith, did he? No, he just simply, for example, with the Quran, he was usually in trances and he would make statements and people would write those down.
Exactly.
And all that was compiled later on after his death, wasn't it?
Exactly, yes.
And the Hadith is just statements that were compiled by compilers. It might be statements that wives remembered or friends remembered or whatever, and they just kind of put them all together.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Now, in the Quran, there are a lot of contradictions, as well as in the Hadith, a lot of contradictions. Yes. For example, you can find verses in the Quran that talk about loving Jews and Christians.
Yes.
And treating them with respect.
Yes.
Then you can find verses that talk about killing them.
Exactly.
How do you change his mind?
A Muslim, they justify this contradiction by Arabic term and Muslim and Islamic principle. They call it naskh. Naskh or nask. This principle means that the future verse going to come, it's going to decline or cancel the what you call it, the previous verse.
Okay, so a later verse,
yes,
would cancel out an earlier verse.
Exactly.
That might contradict with it.
They call it naskh. If you ask them, but why Allah do that? They will say He do that for the benefit of Muslims and for the benefit of the human being. For example,
I remember you giving an example about alcohol.
Yes.
Give us that example.
Exactly. Like, for example, when Muhammad started to preach about his religion, the people in Arabia at that time, they was alcoholic addicts. They loves alcohol. They cannot live without alcohol. And he finds it's going to be too difficult if he's going to give them a command to stop drinking alcohol and to obey his command. So what he did, he just gave them a halfway command. He said to them, no problem, keep drinking alcohol, but when you're going to come to pray to the mosque, you have to stop drinking alcohol till you finish your prayer, and after you finish the prayer, you can go back and drink alcohol again. So after a while, he came back to them and he said, no, this doesn't work. No alcohol going to be allowed anymore. And another verse came and cancelled the previous verse. And Muslims, they become very upset, very angry. But how come? We can't do that. And a later verse says, okay, don't worry. Be patient. Believe in Allah. Believe in His Prophet Muhammad. Believe in His Quranic word. And if you're going to have the ability and you're going to stop drinking alcohol in your life, Allah, He is not going to forget that. He will reward you with a river of alcohol in the paradise the day when He's going to send you to the paradise.
So we go from just drinking alcohol occasionally to not drinking it during prayers to not drinking it at all to you're going to have a river of alcohol in heaven.
Exactly. This is the development of the contradiction, you see, of the teaching of the Quran.
And you find the same in the attitude toward Jews and Christians.
Absolutely.
At the beginning, it was one of respect and honor, and then when they did not accept His revelation, He turned against them and began to argue, you must kill them.
Absolutely. Firstly, it was a development also was taking place in this subject, in His relationship with the Jews and Christians. Firstly, He started to adore Christians and Jews, saying a wonderful thing, people of God, the people who carry His word, the people who protect His word. And later, He said, yes, you are these people, But listen, I am the final prophet, came with a final testament. You have to believe in me. Means he start to debate them and reaching out them. So they refused. They asked him sign. The Quran says so. Ask him sign. Give us a sign that we can believe. So, and he cannot give a sign. And he went back to Allah and cried before Allah, help me to perform miracle or to give sign to these people that they can follow me. And Allah became very upset with him and said to him, okay, listen, go back to these Jewish people and these Christian people. Tell them Allah gives you plenty miracles in the Old Testament. And always you rebels and against him. No more miracles. It is only one way to submit to Islam, to accept Islam, or to pay the tax. And if you refuse to do so, you will be killed. So it was development also taking place in this, you see, in this contradiction of the teaching of the Quran toward the Christian and the Jews.
Folks, we're going to take a brief break at this point, and when we return, we're going to ask Mark to tell us how Jesus is portrayed in the Quran. Mark, let's talk a little about the Muslim view of Jesus. I read in the paper recently where a Muslim imam was invited to speak at a large Christian church in the Chicago area. And when he got up to speak, the very first thing he said was, I want you to know that we Muslims love Jesus as much as you Christians do. Was that an accurate statement or not?
It's not. Absolutely it's not. And the statement of this man, it's a deceitful statement. Why? Because the image of Jesus Christ in the brain of Muslims, in the Quran, in the Hadith, in the teaching of Muhammad, it's totally different than the biblical Jesus. The Quranic teaching and the Islamic teaching about Jesus, it's Jesus, just he is the son of Mary. He was born from Mary through a miracle performed by Allah. And he cannot be the Son of God. He cannot be God. He wasn't crucified. He wasn't shed his blood. All the biblical view about the identity of Jesus Christ, it's misinterpreted by the Quran and by the Islamic teaching. When this man say a statement like that, he absolutely deceived the Christian congregation and the church as the Muslim Imam after September 11.
Yeah, just trying to get them on his side.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Deceived the world through the secular media by telling that Islam it's a peaceful religion.
Now,
same way.
Let me make sure I understand this. They do believe in a miracle birth for Jesus.
They do.
But the Mary that they identify is really confused, because isn't the Mary, the mother of Jesus, identified in the Quran as Mary, the sister of Moses?
Exactly. This is one of the historical mistakes in the Quran.
Yeah,
exactly.
a lot of mistakes about Old Testament, because I get the impression that in his travels, Muhammad probably talked to a lot of Jews, a lot of Christians, got these stories, but got them all mixed up.
Historical mistakes, linguistic mistakes.
Yes.
And as we talk about contradiction of the Quran,
yes,
we have to talk also about the mistakes, the historical,
yes,
okay.
Now, to get back to Jesus for just a moment, so they view his birth as miraculous in some way or other,
yes,
although it's from the wrong person.
Yes.
And then the argument is that he was not God in the flesh, that he was basically just a great prophet, right?
Yes, he considered one of the Uli al-Azm min al-Rusul, means the greatest prophets,
okay,
means Muhammad, Moses, Jesus, Abraham. So they consider him one of the greatest prophets.
But Muhammad being the final and greatest of the prophets.
He is the greatest and he is the final one.
Okay. Now, did you say that they deny the crucifixion?
They do crucify the yes.
Does the Quran deny the crucifixion?
Absolutely. Chapter number 4.
Okay.
Explain وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ.
So Jesus just died?
No, he was never died. He was never crucified. When just the Jews tried to crucify him, Allah took him to heaven.
Okay.
And he's still alive in heaven.
Now, do they believe that there will be a second coming of Jesus?
They do believe about the second coming of Jesus, yes.
Tell us about that.
The Islamic view about the second coming of Jesus, totally different than the biblical view. All what Islam talking about his second coming, he's going to do some things. One of these things, he's going to come and to kill all pigs around the world.
Kill all pigs?
All the pigs. Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes. سيقتل الخنزير. This is the hadith, the word of Muhammad.
Okay.
Said so. And he's going to come to break the cross. Any cross. Wood cross.
Break all crosses.
All the crosses around the world.
Okay.
And he's going to stop the jizya.